Sure. Thanks. Sorry, guys. I just got dropped off. So this is Narayan Prasad. I'm the co-founder of Dhruva Space, which is about 3 years old now. I am an Erasmus Mundus Space Master graduate who graduated in 2012. Before which I did my undergraduation in India. So I've studied in Germany, Sweden, and France before working a little bit in DLR, the German Space Agency, and eventually have come back to India to start my own company here. Um, Basically, can I see my slides?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah.
I don't see them on the platform. Just the first one. Maybe I can open it on my computer as well, so that.
Okay. So you just tell me which slide you want to go, and I will take it.
All right. So I'm just gonna. So I want you to go to the first, the resume. Are you on the resume?
Okay. Now you can resume.
All right, so I'm going to run through my computer as well. So yeah, as I said, I previously in my bachelor, I had some experience working on some small satellites with the Indian Research Institute, building a small 50-kilogram satellite at a conceptual stage. After which I joined the Erasmus course. And right now, along with my company, I also do a lot of policy advocacy for space. So I am enrolled also in a law school as a professional master in law for practicing professionals, so to get more background into the legal side of space as well. So it's a mix between entrepreneurship, technology, and law in all, so which makes it a really nice combination to tackle the industry. Because most of all in the space industry, it's not just the technology that matters, it's also the legality, the policies, and the people themselves. So it connects them in a really kind of a nice way. So if you go to the next slide, you see the vision of our company, which is basically, if you look at the ecosystem in India, not many industries that are functioning independently of the government itself. So, and if you look at the world industry itself, there are very little countries in the world which really has a really vibrant space industry. So in India, we have a space industry that is completely, governmentally driven, and it really operates just acting as vendors of the entire government. So our vision is basically to be established as a new space company, which will kind of be the first OEM of a complete satellite here in India. So in the entire history, India has a space history of about 50 years or more. So in the entire history of India, we've not had a company that builds complete systems end to end in actually in for example in the rockets or in satellites. So we want to focus on the satellite segment, and that's where we stand. So if you go to the next slide, we have our mission. So I told you what is our vision. So our mission right now is to prove that we can actually do it, and we want to take the first step by building a smaller satellite. Why a small satellite is also because the turnaround time for these satellites are very small. So we can essentially build one of these satellites in less than a year with a very small team of say 5 to 6 people, and take it to space and prove heritage. So in most of the companies, in tech companies, in space companies, aerospace companies, you'll have to prove heritage more than anything. So without having proper heritage of your technology or any of these aspects, nobody in the market shall believe you. So in order to purely get ahead in the market and to really get your product to the market itself, you will have to prove that your technology works not just on the earth, but in the air or in space. So with that thing in mind, our first immediate goal has been to put out to our first satellite as a experimental tech demonstrator. eventually what we envision is being in a developing market in India, like India, we can offer a very good equivalent of technology at a really competitive price, because we are sitting in a developing country where the operational costs, the labor costs, and the material costs are substantially lower than any other Western company. So that's where we stand. So if you go to the next slide, uh, it's about the journey of the Space Master program itself. So I can tell you in a lot of ways that the Space Master and the European Union program has been helpful to us, because firstly, in my program there were 45 different students from 25 different countries. So which meant that I understood, coming from the same or a different background, how these countries work and how do these people really work together, and so on. So the good part of the program was that we had to do lots of different small projects where we connected to these guys in a very personal way, and so we knew what is the work ethic of most of these people. And having studied in different university and work environments in, say, Germany, Sweden, and France, I really got to know, okay, that how things work from right from the academic to the real professional life, right? So that's really important, because most people who do technology, uh, technology is more cross-continental nowadays, and it's pretty global. So people who have this experience for with Erasmus have a really good edge, because one, they get connected globally through the network, and if they maintain that network and try to leverage it once they are professionals, results can be really shown. So we have a lot of connects because of these, the graduates and students from our course, and acquaintances we got from attending several different conferences while we were doing the Erasmus program. So yeah, the next slide. So at this point, I would really like to share a few views which are very particular to my company, because I believe that doing a startup is one of the most difficult parts of doing any new endeavor, because one is that your business model might not be fixated. You might not be completely sure of your business model. Your team might have different views and different synergies within the team. So I believe that having really strong co-founders and who complement your skills are extremely important. So in my company, I found that while we were starting up, my colleague who's in the picture, who's on the right side, is Sanjay, who's also a space engineer who studied with me along the program. So we know each other for the last 6 years. So it really helps that we did the same program and we know each other so well that we can complement each other's skills and and go forward in a way that uh, it complements the entire team. So I think that finding a common ground, which is finding a good co-founder and having the right access to the right kind of technology and identifying the right technology that will still survive in the future, alongside the economics and the entrepreneurship of space and how to run the entire show, it becomes really critical. Uh, yeah. So the next slide. So what I would like to also mention here is that entrepreneurship is a very lonely kind of a road, because if you take our case, we are sitting in a developing country where probably half the or 90% of the people do not understand what we are trying to do. So for most people, for most entrepreneurs, it is true that most often getting an acknowledgement of what you're trying to do, and also belief in the kind of things that we're trying to do from other people who are sitting in the same place would be very difficult. So most often we found that in the last 2.5 years, that when we are going and presenting in conferences and so on, when we have peer groups in the same environment, that's when we found that, okay, there's some kind of a balance and so on. So people are acknowledging what we're trying to do outside more than the inside. That's also because of the radical shift in mindsets and technology between a developing country and a developed country. So one of the key things in any developing country where technology entrepreneurship is moving along is that there's always resistance to a change. People don't kind of want to change the current system, and most entrepreneurs just force the system and change in a way that they go along the current and then force it. So, and then as I previously already mentioned, aerospace sector is probably one of the most toughest sectors to get in, because uh, most venture capitalists will not understand the aerospace sector as such. It's also because coming from emerging markets, people would like to invest in B2B businesses and B2C businesses where the return is very immediate, say less than 2 years or 3 years, and would want to exit in maximum say 4 or 5 years. So taking that roadmap, approaching VCs in may not be the most suitable part in the aerospace sector. So although, for example, we might have a small angel network in India and so on, but there's very little people who understand the entire aerospace ball game. So because normally aerospace ball games 7 to 10 year time frames, and that's something that most VCs will not want to invest in an emerging market. So the other part of it is also about dealing with governments, because most venture capitalists and funds would not want to deal with businesses that go into government, that sees as government as their customers. So these are really key in developing your business models as to how we would model your business, if it's a B2C, B2B, or a B2G, and then putting it right in place and so on. So and also selection of a VC is critically important, because you'd always want to. It's almost like a marriage where you have very little chances, uh, and you'll have to make it work on the long run. So the next slide. Um, so yeah. What are the best parts of entrepreneurship? So one of the great things that most people have to do is to gain trust in the system. So I can share that when we were back in India in 2012, nobody really knew us in ways, because we were disconnected for probably 3 years, and a lot of things had changed in India and so on. So we had to do a lot of pro bono work. One of the examples I can give is that we came in and we interacted with some of the research institutes and said that they were doing a ballooning flights, and they were having trouble recovering their balloons. So one of the things that we offered them is saying that we will work towards recovering the balloons, and we can show you the proof of concept and show you 3 flights where we can demonstrate our technology, and if we succeed, you give us a contract for a year. So we eventually got that, and then that's how we showcased that we could actually deliver, and then that gave them trust, and then eventually that converted into money. So a lot of new starts and new entrepreneurship starts by doing a lot of pro bono work, and that's when, and it might take a while before that actually converts into money, but ultimately everything is based on trust of the people, and maintaining that becomes the most important uh, point in entrepreneurship. So the next slide. Sorry. So I was also talking about gathering critical mass and so on. So yeah, so one of the things that we noticed back in India here is that if we keep doing technology, nobody will really, we'll not make so many strides, because the ultimate decision makers are not technologists at the end. They are really bureaucrats and politicians and things like that. So in order to make a change for them, we'll have to create a win-win for them. So that's when we started doing a lot of policy advocacy. So we've been writing about space policy and new space entrepreneurship, and the policy regimes of India and how we can change that, and trying to brainstorm with high-level policymakers and think tanks and so on. So this has shown a lot of results in the last year, because once somebody reads a policy paper and who is completely dedicated to the analysis of the entire system, that's when it'll catch a different wave, and it might reach people like bureaucrats who really make those decisions. And the policy angle is also critical in terms of the media, because the media is also looking for bringing about change in the system and suggesting ways of doing it. So if we in order to gather the critical mass, it will be really important to not just do technology, but also do these policy initiative drives and media showcase, so that that's something that will gain momentum for your initiative. So yeah, and the other experiences that we also had is, for example, finding people with the very similar and shared values. So that's the biggest kind of gift, because those are the people who you always bank upon and can trust, and can always go back to for a hug or something like that. So so it starts from, really finding good interns to industry leaders, because in our experience we've had more than 7 or 8 interns over a period of 2.5 years, and we've gelled together really well. We've had people coming in from Europe to work with us. We've had people from different parts of India working with us. So it really boils down to them, trusting in the model that we're working in, and going ahead and contributing to these things. So it's also about how the guys who are really up there as the industry leaders and high level bureaucrats who trust in what we are trying to do, and who believe in that we can bring about change. They come up with really shared values and support in ways that are really critical for entrepreneurship, because ultimately you might not be, if you're doing an aerospace startup, there's a very big chance that you'll not see any money for 3 to 5 years at the beginning. So you might not have any salaries. You might.
Ryan, are you there? Okay, seems like yeah, seems like he's stepping out, so we will wait for him again. So just to remind you that you are feel free to drop any questions that on the chat box. Okay, he's back again, and Narayan will try to answer your questions. Yep, he's back again.
Hello? Sorry guys, I just got dropped off again.
So yeah, you were in people with shared value. Yeah, you can continue with that point.
Yeah, so you can have a lot of shared values and so on. So, sorry. So, can you go to the next slide, please? All right. So, how does the Erasmus really help us? So that's the main question, also, right? So, any industry as such, or a new industry, will have these 5 different intelligence or connects that I come up with. So I say that people need to have technology experience, process intelligence, cluster intelligence, cultural knowledge, and worldwide connects. So to brief on these things, technology experience is very simple. The most often the technology that we dealt with in Europe was far greater, or say 10 years ahead than what we have here. So the experience of doing that and then coming back here and implementing it is the opportunity, of course. So the second one is the process intelligence. So it's also about learning from different processes from different places. So what I mean from process intelligence is not the process of technology, but it's the process of the functioning of bureaucracy and so on. So we, for example, know what are the opportunities in Europe, how to connect them to us here in India, how to leverage the processes and opportunities. For example, the FP7 framework, where India is a partner, where we can participate to gain some momentum and so on. So it's really taking advantage of the process intelligence. What is cluster intelligence? Cluster intelligence is about knowing where to be located. So for example, India is a really big country, and there are tons of cities. Capital of the space ecosystem. It's also the capital for the startup ecosystem. So it's also knowing about where you have to be located, so that you have the right kind of support system, the right kind of access to the right people, and the money, and so on, and the decision makers. So that really is cluster intelligence. So the cultural knowledge is really important, because we deal with people who are spread out across the world. So we have clients and partners in, say, Australia, in South America, in North America, in Europe, and so on. So each one have their own cultural backgrounds, and ultimately it boils down to how we connect with them. We, having been in Europe and understanding the cultural background and so on, it really helps us connect to the European guys, because we know how their culture works, and so ultimately a lot of things works on getting together and on the same page. So cultural knowledge is very important to get on the same page, ask more quickly than anybody who doesn't have that. So, and also the Erasmus advantage gives us really worldwide connects, because as I said, we studied in Germany, Sweden, and France, but we also had the opportunity to go to Singapore, for example. So my partner Sanjay actually did his thesis at Singapore, although he's in the Erasmus course. And we also traveled to many conferences across US, Europe, and so on. So it really helped making all those connects and maintaining those friendships, so it ultimately translates to business at some point of time. So I think that's where Erasmus is really key, and that's where it really kicked in. So the next slide, please. Hello? Yeah. What I can share here is that uh, we uh, we just recently, in the last month, had some movement in our company, where the picture is three of us, the decision makers in our company, and Tom from Berlin. So Tom is the director of business development for Berlin Space Technologies. It's a partner company of ours. So we've known Berlin Space Tech and Tom for the last 5 years, and we've built a relationship, staying in Europe and then closely working together. And now we're at a stage where we signed a formal MOU to gain some capital from them, and then they investing and trusting in us to invest heavily in India. So we are more or less looking at 2 to 3 million euro investment that's coming into the company starting of next year. So that will give us a great foundation to build our own assembly and integration and manufacturing facility here, and to really kick off our first satellite in no other ways. So we also trusted this more than any other VC, because they are in the same, they understand the space business very well, and they know that space business is having risk, and they're willing to take that risk with us, and that makes us more secure than any other VC and so on. So I think this has taken to get here. It's taken us 2.5 years as a company, and more than 2 to 3 years as friends and partners. So it really is work of almost 5 years to get to such a level. Yeah, the next slide. Yeah. So the slide there is more or less all the attention that we've been getting in the last 5 to 6 months, although we've been operational for the last 3 years. So it's also because, as I said, most of the things that we started to do, like the policy advocacy and outreach programs. We try to do a lot of non-profit activities to educate a lot of people and so on. So these are all really small steps to gather a lot of momentum and a lot of goodwill in our run. And it really finally goes down to say that, okay, once we start doing all of these things, people start noticing our efforts, and finally, we get to a level where today, whatever connections I've had, it keeps on multiplying at not like a simple arithmetic, but more at an exponential level. So today we get invited to several space security and policy making panels, and to give our inputs and so on. So that really gives us the leverage. So several defense companies here want to partner with us, and so on. So it really gives us a platform where like none other. So that's why I said that technology is not everything, but technology plus policy and entrepreneurship is all. So, but although we have done several different things for the last 2.5 or 3 years, we still are very much in the bootstrap mode. We still are, very much not secure and so on. So it's a little bit of a security that in the last 3 years, but it's not complete. So, but that's how it is while doing aerospace startup and going along, because we foresee that we will probably take 3 to 5 years more to reach really a mass that will keep us going for the next decade or so. So everything for us will start from the point where we launch our first satellite and prove it that there's a company that is existing in India that can do an independent satellite. So that's when all the real momentum and the real backing will come out. The next one. Hello? Yeah. So what's our way forward right now?
Yeah.
So the way forward is that we are looking at foreign direct investment, which is FDI. I don't know about other countries, but there are several strict regulations in India for foreign direct investment, and there's a whole big procedure, bureaucracy attached to FDI, especially in defense and space. So we'll have to go through the bureaucracy, and it might take more or less 6 months to a year to get this going. So we have a tough journey of clearing governmental clearances and so on. So we're also looking at how to get the money and how to transfer some of the technologies and so on. So we'll be looking at licensing of technology and and uh, and so on. So it's also about we've also identified a location to go on and establish our facility here. So we'll be looking at how much to invest, who to invest with as a partner, and how we can leverage the other facilities that are available with our space agency and so on. And as we go along, we make new international partners and local partners who want to work pro bono as well. So just to give you an example, after in the last couple of months, I've been getting a lot of different calls from fellow entrepreneurs who just want to participate in the journey as well, and then get some experience to work along with the space sector, to enter the sector as well, and they have offered to do a lot of pro bono work with us. So if there's a lot of goodwill in the system, people come along, and essentially it's also to say that at the beginning, when you're not really commercial but still a more technical demonstrator, a lot of people can do a lot of good work even as pro bono work. So the next slide. So the overall experience from us is that uh, so we've come to a conclusion, or more or less experience in the last 3 years, that we need definitely a really good team, because a small team is easy to manage, and it's less paying on the bill. And also we need the right kind of technology. So we're looking at what is present in our country, and making it 10 times better, not just 2 times or 3 times better. So that's really key for us. and we of course need the trust from the bureaucrats and partners and investors and so on. So trust will remain a very big pillar of the entire system. And of course, we will need to show a lot of transparency to work with agencies and so on. So we'll have to go ahead and share our technical details and drawings and go through reviews with our space agency to create that kind of transparency so that they believe in our system. And of course, timeline remains very important because most people do need to understand that, for example, doing an aerospace startup is, you need to plan ahead for say 6-7 years and so on, unless you're looking at a tier 2 or a tier 3 job instead of being an OEM or a tier 1. So these are really the takeaways from our experience so far. The last slide. Yeah. So anyway, so thank you for listening, and then I hope that you've given some exposure to and lessons from what we've done so far, and so hopefully, if there are any questions, you could shoot and I could answer them.
Yeah. So, Narayan, thank you so much. It's a very inspiring presentation, and I would like to congratulate you that you managed to get support from the Berlin Space Technology Agency. It is
Thanks.
like one of the great milestones that you have achieved so far. And then
Thank you.
you also get a bit support from different kind of like a government agency in India, at least you get a bit more trust already, and also get a bit more exposure in media, and of course this will always be helpful for Dhruva Space. And one more thing that I just want to be clear that pro bono means that you are doing something for free for somebody, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So, so, uh, so, so at the beginning, you actually started by just doing a pro bono work with one of the space research institutes in India, and then this is just to gain some trust from the institute that they probably can trust you in technically way. Then they maybe can offer some of the projects to you, right?
Yeah, so essentially, because space is so fragile and there's a lot depending on how you can deliver and if you can deliver. So normally people would want to know really for sure that if they can work with you and then trust you for these, because your system is not independent and it's going along with something else, and people need to be really sure on these things. So yeah, I think if you ask probably most aerospace entrepreneurs, that they would have done some kind of pro bono work. Hello?
Okay, this is how kind of like a cultural thing in aerospace, huh?
Yeah. Actually, I thought that initially when we did that, we were doubtful ourselves, but then when I spoke to several people, other entrepreneurs in the space sector and so on, and we said that we had to do this to really get our first step inside, and then they also shared very similar experiences.
Wow. Okay. But okay, maybe you can take us through that. How can you strike a deal with a research institute, even if it was just a pro bono work? How you pitch them? I mean, how you gain the trust even just to do a pro bono work? And because when you want to do a pro bono work, right, you need some resources, and usually do they provide the resources, or just how you strike the deal?
No, so the whole the whole thing about the pro bono work is that you know the the user of your work, or the customer is actually not he is doubtful about you, but he can help you in certain ways which he cannot as a total customer. If he's a total customer, then he would expect to you to invest everything and to invest your entire money upfront and deliver and then be sure of everything and so on. But if you do it as a pro bono work, you go there setting an expectation where the customer thinks that okay, there's an opportunity to experiment, and if there's a win-win here, then I can offload some of my work to these guys, and then and if the experiment fails, the customer doesn't need to pay anything. Uh, it's essentially we investing. It's a risk, kind of a risk-sharing mechanism, right? So so that creates the win-win in pro bono work, because ultimately you're putting in your time as an entrepreneur and some of your money that will complement the partner. And if the whole thing fails, you lose something, and then the customer feels that okay, even if I'm putting this in, I'm not losing as much as I would probably doing this by myself. So so that's essentially creating a win-win uh, in a kind of a risk sharing mechanism.
Wow. Okay. That's really good to know. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah. So then after you deliver, of course, that the guy really trusts you, saying that okay, yeah. So these guys who came up who said that they can deliver, they can really deliver, and then you prove it, and then eventually the customer just comes in.
Okay. Okay. And then what about the Berlin Space Technology Agency? That how you all try to deal with that? Is it is it you actually go through with the Indian government or even the Indian Research Institute to get to know the Berlin Space Agency, or you already did it this kind of thing when you even in Erasmus Mundus program?
I guess you will be surprised to know, because it was neither, as I suggested, it was more that when I was a student in the Erasmus program, me and Sanjay actually went down to a conference in Graz in Austria as students, and then that's where I actually met Tom initially first. So Tom was already an entrepreneur then, but then I was still a student, and so we met in 2011, I think, and then so we got together in a conference, and it happened that we met also in a follow-up conference in the next year, and then we really became friends, and we started to talk to each other and so on, and work together and so on, and eventually. All of their satellites were actually launched on the Indian rocket, so they had to visit us and so on. So that's when we gelled together and we shared our visions and so on, and we found that we were having very similar backgrounds and work ethics and vision and so on. So that's that put uh, that we become partners. That became easy to come into a partnership, and the investment, of course, is more like they actually cracked a big deal with building a satellite, two satellites for Singapore, and so they eventually got a big contract, and they have now the bandwidth to experiment with some of the investment. So then they decided that they could actually support us in this, and then because that creates a win-win for them, because then they can enter the Indian market, and it enables us to have some capital and inflows so that we can experiment and showcase technology here. So then again, that's their win-win situation for both of us.
Wow. So it is very important that even at an aerospace startup, we need to do a lot of network. So it's same as any startup. You just have to go to conference, go to networking event, and just to try to connect with potential people that could bring value to your company. Right.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Okay. And and what about the media? How you get media attention from like maybe from Indian government or even from local newspaper, tech news? How do you get those attention?
It's so the thing is, as a company, you'll get very little attention, right, by the media, because you are a profit-making organization. So, but what you can really do to get a lot of attention from the media is also that you create non-profit programs So for 2 years, we did several non-profit programs. So that students get involved, um, so that a lot of universities participate. A lot of scientists really get involved in delivering those programs and so on. So that's when a lot of attention from media comes in. And of course, when you do a lot of policy advocacy and you write papers and so on, so then there's always a gap identified in the current system. So, and that's when people would want to contribute to put it out in the public, so that the real decision makers get educated of these gaps. And so that's when the media kicks in and supports such initiatives. So because it's not just the good for one company, but it's the common good for the ecosystem.
Wow. Okay, I think that is a very, very good tip for me, even for me, and then for other people that are listening.
Yeah.
Just for some reminder, for people that just joined in, if you didn't if you missed out the presentation before it, don't do not worry, because this is a recorded webinar, so you can come back and then we will publish it on YouTube. But in the meantime, please feel free to ask any burning question to Narayan before he left. He is ready to answer any kind of difficult question. So, Narayan, let's go to one of the questions that asked by Atum.
Yeah.
So he asked, does Dhruva Space have plans for developing launch system in the future? If not, what are your plans for launching?
So right now we don't have any plans of building any launch systems as such, because more than technical, there are a lot of legal issues regarding building launch systems and so on. So we, as such, don't have a vision for it right now. But I don't know. I can never say no for these things. So maybe 10 years down the line, we might want to do that. But so the second part of the question is, how are you planning to launch? We have a very reliable Indian rocket, which has had 26 flights, which are all successful continuously. So we can definitely rely on getting a ride to space as a piggyback payload on the Indian rocket that we have.
That's a good plan. Okay. So, well, let's see if I have any. So, do you all have any other questions? Yeah, please feel free to ask in the chat box. We'll be very happy to answer any kind of question that you have. So, Mariam, maybe you can
Yeah.
suggest
So
us.
how long is the
What
waiting
kind
time
of
for
book?
launch?
Can you recommend one book?
Sorry, one book?
Yeah, no. Maybe you can answer the question first. How long is the waiting time for lunch?
Yeah, so typically we're looking at it really depends on ISRO. So we hope that so we could do something by the end of next year. So that's something in our mind. So but then it's like hitting a wall all the time. So we we've been hoping that even last year. So it really depends. But let's see. We want to keep trying, and our hope is that we can do something by the end of next year.
Oh, okay.
When are we having our bird in space? So uh, yeah, so it really depends on ISRO and other guys right now. So let's let's hope that we will get a lot of support and so on. So we have got a tremendous amount of support to build the first satellite already from our friends from Berlin. and it now boils down to getting some local support from our space agency and so on, and that's what we're trying right now. And just to give you an update, uh, we have been hitting the wall for the last 6 weeks. We've tried to contact one of the offices here, and then we've tried to set up meetings already 12 times without getting an opportunity. So, so yeah, it's it's tough, but we keep trying.
Okay.
So, Lex, you were asking about the book.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you can, please recommend one book that that maybe people can try to that will be useful for the audience.
I was just reading a book by Jim Collins called Good to Great. So this is this is not essentially for a startup company. Uh, this research book for big companies, but it really gives a lot of insights to run a startup, because the kind of research that has gone into writing that book involves a team of 30 people with more or less 11,000 hours of research and so on. So the insights presented in the book is really good, and in some ways can also be applied to a small company. So I would suggest reading that book.
Uh, uh, could you write down on the chat box? Is that possible?
Yeah, I'll write it down.
And also, yeah, and also if you want to let people know that on your website that maybe people are interested to do some project with you, yeah, maybe you could also write down your contact details and also your website on the chat box, and people can get to know. Yeah, cool. So, Narayan, do you have anything to add?
That's it. I'm probably happy to help anybody who wants to contact and get involved and or partner and so on. So always welcome to contact us.
Fantastic. So, Narayan, thank you so much for your time and your advice. And I think, yeah, very valuable, yes. And I hope everyone in the audience, I hope all the audience that are looking at this video has some tips and inspirations to start their own startup. So even aerospace industry is a very expensive industry. It's also opening for startup right now. So can you imagine? There's so many kind of startups in all over the world you can start, even it is a very intensive capital startup. So so please join us. So this presentation is provided by Entrepreneur Network. So please join Entrepreneur Network if you are not yet joined, if you are not inside yet. And I hope you all have a nice weekend. And next month there will be another entrepreneur that I'm going to do a webinar. So stay tuned with Entrepreneur Network. Thank you so much. And
Yeah,
of course,
thank you,
do
Lex.
not forget to
Have a
join the
nice
LinkedIn
night.
group of Entrepreneur Network to get to know other professionals. Bye. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.